You're listening to the Vanadium Registry. In days of yore, in a kingdom of sand and wind, came a librettist and a composer looking for inspiration for their newest musical work. There they were told of the region's peculiar wind for which the land was renowned for, and the accursed viscount that haunted the cave that enhanced its currents. The people warned the two of the lost nobility who's claimed the lives of all who've entered his dwelling. However, the librettist and the composer were unconvinced, and did travel to the cave. Surprisingly, the hollow was beautiful. Gemstones lined the rocky walls, crystals hung from its ceiling, and both sung when touched by the wind. As the duo traversed deeper into the cave, the wind surged and the singing of the crystals grew to sound more human, until the two found themselves surrounded by a choir of voices, all telling the tale of a viscount that was betrayed by his own people for the iniquitous powers he was discovered to have wielded. The frightened composer begged the entranced librettist to leave, but was stopped by a man of regal bearing, with long hair made of sand and a swirling silhouette revealed by dusty wind. The fate of the two artists are unknown, but some say that the cave's walls are now carved with lyrics, and that two new voices can be heard in the cave's crystalline choir. And now, Recollection Report 6, a Siren of Sand. I swerve in and out of traffic as my partner and I race to catch up to our protectee. Seeing an approaching gridlock, I angle into a drift and oversteer through a cornered turn, sweeping into a back alley. "This is just perfect!" raged my partner, Officer Tadashi, as she threw her phone against the dashboard. Glancing down at our navigation system for damage, I see more street malfunctions and roadblocks scattered ahead of us. "Dashi, about Miss Tooley, I still think..." "No, don't start. Look, I know you don't like her, but it's our job to protect her. It's not about me. There are just too many coincidences. You've got theories, but that's all they are. You have no proof, and I can't stick my neck out for you without proof." My grip fastens on the steering wheel as I focus back on the road and maneuver our unit through more tight alleys before re-entering the main road as a neon streak to evening pedestrians. "Wait, let's just table it for later. We've got too many things going wrong right now, and we can't be out of sync too." All right, I say, as we pull into an office's parking lot. Before I could fully come to a stop, Tadashi had already leapt out of our unit to check Tooley's car. "It's still warm. She must have just gone inside." "Wait, where's Officer Rochelle and Grover?" I point out. I don't get it. They were traveling parallel to our route. They should be here too, right?" Bringing out my phone, I swipe through my contacts, preparing to call them. "We don't have time to wait for them." But Chief said, "Listen, if Rochelle and Grover decide to show up, it's like you said, they have our route. Right now, this is our only chance to find our protectee before we have to report this in," Tadashi said, charging at the building's front doors. "You search the top floor starting at L4. I'll search from L3 to the basement levels. Got it?" "Yeah, got it." I stand ready and wait for Tadashi's signal. Once I received it, I pass her without speaking and enter the emergency stairwell and run to the 4th floor. Checking floor by floor, our protectee, Miss Tooley, was nowhere to be seen. I took a seat on one of the flight steps and began calling Tadashi, hoping that she had better luck than I did. Before Tadashi could answer, a muffled sound caught my attention. It came from the story of flight above me, the 28th floor, one of the levels undergoing construction. Quietly, I entered and began following the sound as it became a clear voice. It was Miss Tooley. As I drew closer, I was shocked by how erratic, fearful, and hostile she was. She sounded like a completely different person than the one who came and begged us for protection. Peeking from my hiding spot, I looked to see who she was talking to, but no one was there. Maybe she's on the phone, I thought, as I tried to hear what was making her so upset. But I didn't get a chance to because she just started running like someone was chasing her. "Miss Tooley, stop! It's me! Officer Fabian Fleury, I'm one of the agents assigned to your protection!" I shouted, but she just kept running, forcing me to sprint and catch her before she got on the elevator. I'm Officer Fabian Fleury. This time I display my authorization badge. I'm here to protect you from the Ibarra killer. But she didn't listen to a word that I said, and shoved me out of the way before running to the emergency stairs. So I was right about her. Following our protectee, I entered the same stairwell and unsheathed my absolver from its holster. If Chief and Tadashi won't help me, then I'll just have to bring her in myself. On the 32nd floor, I noticed that one of the elevators had been used, so I went to the floor that her elevator got off on. The floor should have been blocked off, but it wasn't. It had no working lights. It was unusually cold and was filled with the mild haze from the floor's construction fumes. After my eyes adjusted to the smog, I searched the floor. Standing by a distant window was a woman with her back to me. There you are. Miss Tooley, it's time that you come with me, I said, as I carefully approached her. I know everything, I clarified as I activated my absolver's lethal setting, triggering a transformation that caused its metal frame to expand and display its inner mechanics lined with glowing tracery, filled with liquefied energy designed for instant fatalities. Miss Tooley, as according to Noble Sanction 47, you are granted the right to... The woman turned around swiftly and sliced my absolver in half, causing the front of the firearm to crumble to the floor in seared chunks, as the shockwave sent me crashing backwards halfway across the room. After the dust from my impact settled, I saw what was left of my absolver. Still training lasers at its target, the light dispersed and refracted from within the silhouette, revealing a glittering woman hovering inches off the floor. While outlined by moonlight from the window, her nymph-like form glowed rimmed blue and casted a shadow that veiled the front of her. As the ghostly presence looked down at me, a few shimmering grains that orbited her pricked like thorns as they landed on my skin. Triggered by their sting, my mind flashed back to reports of Ibarra's past slayings. Victims, locations, and even times were all ruled indiscriminate. The only aspect that remained consistent was the fact that they all bled to death. None of the medical staff could pinpoint what weapon could have caused the types of lethal wounds that were discovered on the victims, nor the type of person that would inflict the distorted level of cruelty on the scale that we were witnessing within Ibarra's slayings. But looking at the creature before me now, I understood. Ibarra's not human. Without thinking, I scrambled for my absolver's remains, still smoking on the floor. Rhythmically, I go through the motions of assembling it just like I was taught during training. But I came back to my senses when the radiant nymph began speaking.
Himenios. Hilo abipsum belovitane.
I couldn't understand what she was saying, but I understood her intent when her eyes started glowing a dangerous blue. Glancing down at what was left of my absolver one last time, I ran and re-entered the emergency stairs. But as soon as I entered, I regretted it. The Fae watched from the stairwell's landing as I fled, and began flooding the stairwell with sand. From the crashing waves of grain, blades of air thrusted from the raging surface and sliced at my arms and legs over and over again. I was steadily avoiding the attacks when the walls were suddenly overcome with sand that burned hot, until it transformed the spiraling staircase into a mirror maze, where all I could hear was the creature repeating the same unintelligible phrases. Her voice bounced off the walls and misled me to how close she was at all times. But I just kept telling myself to keep running straight ahead. 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 Running straight ahead. Keep running straight ahead. Even when I didn't know what that looked like anymore. But when an edged wave of sand almost took my head, I turned around and saw the creature gliding down the staircase's void like a mermaid travels down a waterfall. Bursting from the grainy streams, she sent deadly slashes at my head before landing with a hovered step behind me. But I managed to duck just in time to leave the exit's doorway to bear the destructive hits, which caused it to partially cave in. But I still continued running forward, even as the creature motioned dagger-like tentacles made of sand to grab at my head. But I slid underneath the exit's remains before she could take hold of me. With the momentum of my desperate maneuver, I inadvertently threw myself out of the doorway and tumbled along the lobby. The fall was hard, but the roll was even worse. I ended up hitting my head on some furniture's blunt end, causing something else much heavier to pin me to the floor, leaving me only able to shift partially to my side by using my elbow. I was surprised, not only to be alive, but the beast didn't follow me. It stayed at the fallen exit. Still speaking in her cryptic language, she shouted what I can only assume were curses at me. Between my body's growing numbness and my waning consciousness, I willed myself to stay awake out of fear of the demonic fairy taking me away once I closed my eyes. But I didn't have to worry long, because the nymph backed into the dusty debris on her own as soon as Tadashi, Rochelle, and Grover came. I tried warning them of the creature, but I couldn't speak anymore. And before I knew it, everything was black. Weeks later, I sat with my arm firmly secured in a cast and hung in a sling as Tadashi and I sat in a disciplinary meeting. Namita Therese, age 37, resident of Median 25. Pax Juka, age 24, resident of Haven 6. And thanks to you two, Ibar's recent victim, Evanth Tuli, age 29, a beloved Median 14 singer. Chief Hartwin said, while pacing the room. Ibar's been wanted for years. Our specific department's been chasing Ibar for months. We finally have a target brave enough to come to us for protection, and you two call yourselves officers, but can't even act as bodyguards for one night. We all look incompetent because of you. And I would be unfit for my position if I allowed you both to continue dishonoring us so publicly. Chief paused with a disappointing sigh, as if what he was about to say next was going to hurt him too. You two are off the Ibarra case. What? No, Chief, please, this... And until further notice, you will return to your 3rd Division for tactical retraining, without pay, Chief added. Tadashi's eyes swelled with tears as she gripped my uninjured hand to keep herself from crying. Seeing her out of character, the Chief looked away while massaging the bridge of his nose beneath his glasses. Look, you know I've looked after you two since training camp. But if I don't do this, you two will stand before the Chamber of Viceroys. Wait, the Viceroys? Why would they be involved in this? Listen, on record, all I'm allowed to say is that Miss Tooley's murder was a result of 2 officers' negligence to properly survey their principal and await the remaining members of their team. Beyond that, nothing else happened. And off the record, I asked. Pathologists found inconsistencies with Miss Tooley's autopsy. I don't know how, but Strikehorn got involved and they've taken over everything. They demanded disciplinary action be taken and stated that they would be no longer requiring our assistance in the matter. So please, just go through training quietly. Don't cause any more problems. You can even consider it a bit of a vacation if you want. Just drop it. Yes, sir, Tadashi and I said while saluting. As the meeting ended, the surrounding hologram vanished, resetting our environment from the Chief's office back into mine. I can't believe this. I know, it's hardly fair, I said, moving back to the pile of files splashed across my desk. You bet it's not. We're the fall guys. I bet Rochelle and Grover said splitting up was our idea. No, they don't want any blame for Ibarra still being out on the loose. We have to go down for that. Ibarra's not still out there, I corrected, as I took a seat on the edge of my desk. What are you talking about? You wanted proof about my theories, right? Well, here it is. I pull an overstuffed booklet from my desk drawer, finally ready to unmask Ibarra and prove my case. Dashi, Ibarra signed her name at every murder, I say, pointing to the recent batch of crime scene photos. But Ibarra's name is spelt with numbers, not with letters. We just didn't notice because Ibarra hid the numbers where we expected to see them. A watch, an address, a victim's ID, even a receipt. No matter how many numbers were present, the same set of numbers appear every time. I slide the pictures to Tadashi, circling the numbers 284302. But what does this mean? How does this spell a name? It doesn't spell a name. It is a name. Handing her a weathered folder, I clarified. I looked through some of the old medical department's archives, and I found a case where a simple biking accident caused a young girl to be rushed to a median hospital and placed in a medically induced coma. Since no one could identify her, the staff had to report the incident using the girl's patient case number to identify her in the records. Even though the girl did later identify herself, due to the straightforward nature of the case, all the files were already registered and the case was already closed before she did. So her numeric name wouldn't change in our system. To us, she would be forever 284302. Okay, I get it. This little girl, 284302, became Ibarra. But where is this little girl now? She became the best singer in Median 14. What? No, you don't mean... The infamous Ibarra is Evanth Tuli, I say, motioning outside to the corpse wrapped in black cloth that was being carefully placed inside a metal coffin aboard Strykor's plane. Beloved singer, local celebrity, ruthless killer. But she can't be Ibarra. Ibarra killed her too. Besides, Tuli was known for her gentleness. Ibarra massacred people. No, they can't be the same person. I mean, what about the monster that you mistook her for? Faye, maybe the doctors are wrong and you really didn't hallucinate her, Tadashi argued, while shuffling through files for proof to support her unlikely case. Yeah, well, we both know I didn't hallucinate that creature, I say, glancing down at my broken arm as I shift from the window. The first set of slayings were done by Tuli. That's why they were indiscriminate, yet contained to only places where Tuli could access. But the recent slayings are Vazalia-wide. They're different. In fact, Tuli's murder is the only Ibarra killing in this region. Tadashi, Tuli's performance is over. The Ibarra killer has been killed. Tuli just never imagined that she'd get replaced in her own show. The Vanadium Registry is a Studio Imbe production. This show is written and performed by Asia Ansley. Original soundtrack, mixing, and video editing are also by Asia Ansley. Likewise, all artwork and cover art are by Asia Ansley. Learn more about the Vanadium Registry and view the series at our website, imbe.studio. The Vanadium Registry is a listener-supported production. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider supporting us on Buy Me a Coffee and by sharing our work. Thank you.